All right, I am live. Yay. Hi, everyone. I'm just going to wait for people to start to pop on. And if you are here, say hi so I can say hi to you. Um, yes, say hi so I can say hi to you if you're watching. And I'm really excited to dive into this. I'm just going to wait like a couple seconds for people to pop on. But a lot of information was coming to me just leading up to this. So I'm really excited to share all of this with you guys. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Roxy. All right. So, welcome to the codes for multidimensional clarity. So, this is super exciting because I have been downloading a bunch of these different codings for playing in the quantum, right? For really learning how we work with our own energy and work with the energy of the quantum field to create and to really align with what we're meant to be doing. And this is all about quantum creation, quantum healing, quantum manifestation, but it's really so much more than that. It's really about understanding who we really are and what we're actually capable of. And also understanding that basically everything we've been told about how the world works and what we're capable of and who we are is not true. And there's so much more available to us when we start to dismantle this programming and stop following these rules and really start to create our own rules. So that's what tonight is about. I'm going to share with you what I've downloaded and then whatever else I channel through tonight. But again, this is going to be an activation. So just as I'm talking, the energy is transmitting from me to you. So if you can, try to watch this in a space where you are not distracted and you're able to really absorb and receive the energy. And if not, then you can go back and listen to it again and really allow yourself to absorb and receive the energy. Hi, Easter. Hi, Benita. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's get started. Again, if you're just popping on, please say hi. Let me know that you're here so I can connect with your energy. And also, again, this is a transmission as I am speaking. The energy is moving through me to you. My guides are always really clear about that. They actually always tell me that it doesn't matter what I say, because the energy that's coming through me is the thing that's really going to activate you and the thing that really matters, so to speak. Although the part of my brain that's still attached to the 3D still thinks that it's about the words. So, hi, Valeria. Okay. So, the codes for multidimensional clarity. So, this is really about taking this multidimensional perspective and really learning to live and play in the quantum field. So, what do I mean by a multidimensional perspective? It is really understanding and embodying the fact that this 3D solid reality that we see, that we are so like absorbed in and we think is the only thing that's real, is just a piece of where we're actually living and working and what is actually real, right? So this 3D reality, this solid reality where we have our bodies and our five senses and our houses and all of these things that are physical that seem like really, really real. This is a realization and an opening of your perspective to realize that that's only a piece of the puzzle. That's only a piece of the story. And understanding that there are parts of us that are living and operating in the other dimensions, and then consciously bringing those pieces of us together with our 3D, the 3D version of ourselves, to really take our power back and say, this is who I really am, and I don't have to follow these 3D rules, right? So, the first thing that they were really encouraging me to talk about today is looking at where we're getting information, right? So where our focus is primarily is usually in the 3D, right? So that's where we're receiving most of our information is from our five senses, right? Our eyes, our ears, our hands, our, what are the other ones? Our nose, right? So we're mostly receiving information and aware of the way that we're receiving information through those five senses. Okay, so what we're doing here for stepping into this multidimensional perspective is we're starting to become much more aware of the ways that we're receiving information beyond our five senses, right? So, how are we receiving information beyond that, right? Through our intuition, through our feelings, right? There's a reason why we have been so disconnected from our feelings. Our feelings are our power. Our emotionality is part of why humans are so powerful, which is why we've been purposely disconnected from our feelings for so long. Our feelings and our emotions are the one of the biggest ways that we receive information from the other realms. So I'm just going to let that sink in for a moment because that's really, really, really important. Okay. So starting to cultivate this awareness of the other ways that you're receiving information beyond your five senses, right? So just starting to feel into that and what does that mean? And then also the next piece of it that's really important is beginning to trust the information that you receive. So just as an example, for me, I've always been really psychic. I've always been tapped into the Akashic records at all times in my life, which I, only found out recently that I've always been tapped into the Akashic records. But I've always been pretty psychic and pretty tuned in. And I'm guessing if you're watching this, you probably are too. However, a lot of times when we are, especially when we have claircognizance, right, where we just know things, we get this information and then we're not sure where it came from, so we think we're making it up. So this is a perfect example of the taking this multidimensional perspective and getting out of this 3D programming, because the 3D programming tells us that if we don't know where it came from, then we must be making it up and it's not real. Okay, so do you see what the program is? If we don't know where it came from, if it's not something we read in a book, if it's not something somebody told us, if it's not something we observed with our own eyes, with our senses, then it's not real. So we immediately start to dismiss this information that we somehow know, but we don't know how we know. And I always tell this story, or I've been telling this story a lot because it's something that I realized that I was doing that I didn't even know I was doing. So as many of you know, I was a school counselor for over 10 years. And when I was a school counselor, I would have this ability to talk to a parent about their kid, never even having talked to their kid. So I would know all of this information about this kid, about the student, and I would be able to relay it to the parent in a really insightful way, helping them to understand how to help their kid. And I didn't know how I knew that information. So I would think that I was making it up. And I would be oh, I'm I would make myself feel bad about it, because you're oh, you're totally making that up. What are you talking about? But I was always right. And I didn't know how I knew that information. So I would actually beat myself up or make myself feel bad because I would think that I was making this up, when really I was just tapping into the Akashic records and pulling the information from the records, because all the information's there, right? All the information is living in the Akashic records, and all we have to do is tune into it and pull it, right? But I didn't know that I was doing that. And plus I had claircognizance, which is you just know things, right? And you don't know how you know them. You just know. because you're tuned into that divine mind. You're tuned into the Akashic records. It's kind of the same thing. So this is an example of how when we run this program in the 3D and we're only focused in the 3D, we don't take into account the information we're receiving from these other sources beyond the 3D. Okay, so let me know if this is making sense. I'm just going to check the comments really quick. Oh, hi, Molly. Hi, Amy. Hi, Gabby. Molly says, yes, this is so true for me. Totally. So this is what we're doing now that we are accessing these codes to be able to live in this multidimensional way, is now we're realizing and we're able to discern and distill information differently, and also be able to really trust the information that you're receiving, right? And this is a huge part of the work that I do. This is a huge part of what we're going to be doing in the Quantum Accelerator, is to really start to trust all of the information that you're receiving and realize that you're not making it up. It's not random. It's not coming out of nowhere, right? The guys are really clear with me today that they really wanted me to tell you very, very clearly. Like, they showed me this big like light banner of flashing lights that says nothing is random. Like, there's no randomness. and that's really important to understand in this context, because the information that you're receiving does not come out of nowhere. You know, like I think, and Valeria, if you don't mind me sharing this, I'm sure you won't. The very first time I met Valeria, she was like, I think that I can heal people. And obviously she's a very talented healer. So obviously we all know that that's true. And I said to her, I said, but she's like, I think I'm making it up. And I'm like, you wouldn't make that up. No one thinks that they can heal people unless they can heal people. So the point of that story is that nothing is coming out of nowhere, right? And when we can start to recognize that the information we're receiving is not, we're not making it up, it's not coming out of nowhere, and it actually has real validity within our lives, the lives of our clients, and anybody who we're going to help or come into contact with, then we can start honoring that information by taking it as real or true, or sorry, my computer, real or true, or something that we need to look at, or information that we're receiving. I mean, I can't tell you how many times, you know, I would be talking to a client or something and I would receive information and I wouldn't say it. You know, this happened a lot when I first started working with people. And I wouldn't say it because I would think that it sounded too crazy or too weird, or I didn't want to upset them. And all the time, you know, weeks or months down the line, it would end up that that information was something that was true for them or real for them, or that they needed it, right? So this is one of the most important activations for you around these new codes, is to trust and honor the information that is coming to you and through you in other ways beyond the 3D. And this is super, super, super important to start to open up to these other ways of receiving information, because the more that you take the information and you honor it and you act on it and you take it as real, quote unquote, although what is real? We're going to talk about that in a minute. The more that then you start to receive, because what ends up happening is it's like a relationship, any relationship, where the more you put into it, the more you get out of it, right? So like if you were in a romantic partnership with somebody, if you just ignored them and you never listened to anything they said, do you think that relationship is going to be going very far? No, most likely not, right? So what I mean by that is the more that you invest and nurture your relationship with these other realms and with spirit, with the information that you're receiving, the more information you're going to receive. And the wider the spectrum is going to get, right? When you start to realize that everything that's coming to you is coming to you for a reason, and that you are a divine channel for this information. So this is really, really important. Oh, Valeria, yes. Yeah. So it's just super interesting because we have this programming, right, from the 3D. And what this programming says is that only things are only real if you can see them or hear them or touch them or taste them. And that is what we really are deprogramming right now, because then the question becomes, well, what is real, right? What makes something real? And that's what we're really like pushing the envelope in as we step into working in the quantum field. Because in the quantum field, when you think something, it is, right? In the astral plane, when you think something, it is, and it's real, right? So we have to get beyond this programming of thinking that something has to be in our physical 3D reality in order for it to be real. Because if we think that way, then manifestation and quantum healing and all of that isn't really available to us. Because when we work in the quantum, something is real when we say it's real. So it's really important to like push the envelope as far as what we think is real and what is true and what is, you know, what is reality. So anyway, looking at how you're receiving info and trusting the information you're receiving, it's so huge. Because I used to think that I was making things up all the time, or I used to think that things were like randomly coming to me. And that was not the case. And when I started to really trust all of the information I was receiving and not just discount things as being crazy or me making them up, then I've been able to receive so much more information because I really trust and honor the information that's coming through. Okay, so this is one of the most important things for opening up to this multidimensional perspective. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about releasing the 3D rules and programming, because this is essential to stepping into this multidimensional perspective. So what do I mean by that? It's really crazy because it can sound easy, but a lot of these things have literally been like beaten into our heads since birth, of the way things are and the way reality is and the way time is and the way that you're supposed to build a business, the way you're supposed to have a career, the way you're supposed to have a relationship, right? Everything is very linear, and everything is very like first this, then this, then that, and it has to be like this certain way where one thing builds off of another. And that is the programming that we're releasing when we're talking about this new coding for seeing things from a multidimensional perspective, right? And having that clarity of understanding that you don't have to do things the way we were told we have to do them. And this is kind of like, it's hard to grapple with in some ways, right? Because it's like, it's kind of dismantling our whole way of living and engaging with the world. And it can be a little bit discombobulating, right? It can be a little bit, wait, well, if that's not real, then this isn't real. And you kind of feel like you're like floating in space almost and like losing your footing a little bit. So it can be a little bit wobbly, but it's important to just take it one step at a time, right? So the thing that I really want to talk about today is time, because time is a program. And I know this sounds crazy because time seems so real, right? We can all look at the clock. We all use the clock to like know when we're supposed to be places. But time is actually a program to keep us kind of boxed into this certain way of thinking. So when we start to work in the quantum and we realize that time actually doesn't exist the way we think it does, and everything's actually happening simultaneously, then it's really easy to be able to collapse timelines and actually time jump, right? Where we can start to be like, okay, well, the version of me that I want to step into, has a successful business, has this relationship, whatever it is that you want to create, right? So, what you can then do is that version of you already exists, right? That version of you that you are wanting to step into that already has accomplished all of these things already exists in the quantum field. So all you have to do is access that version of you that's in the quantum field and then merge yourself with that version of you. So how do you do that? You have to use your emotions to start to feel in to that version of yourself and start to feel in to who that person is, what do they look like, what do they feel like, how do they live their life, what are they doing? And then you literally, through feeling, step into that version of you. And that's how you quantum leap, because you're able to actually feel into and access this version of you that is living in the quantum and collapse time and space to become that person. So this is how we start to play in the quantum, and this is how we start to see things from this different perspective. Because if we're just focusing in the 3D, then we're not going to be able to access that version of ourselves, because we're going to be like, okay, well, first I have to do this, and and then I have to do that, and then I have to do this, right? Because we're looking at things linearly. But if we're able to expand into this understanding and knowing that all things exist simultaneously, then we're able to access that version of ourselves and step into it. So let me know if this is making sense. I'm just going to check the comments really quick. Okay. So yeah, so let me know if this is making sense. Okay. So let me see. So releasing these 3D rules and then questioning the programming, right? So especially if you are wanting to create something, right? So let's just use a business, for example. And then looking at how you're approaching it and questioning the programming around it. Because one of the reasons why I feel like I've moved so fast in my business and creating what I wanted and really starting to quantum leap is because, well, A, I figured out how to clear trauma really quickly, because that's a huge part of it. But B, I questioned the programming around things. I was like, well, people say it has to be this way, but does it really have to be this way? Like, why does it have to be this way? Like, for example, there are so many things in our 3D reality that we think we're supposed to do because they make sense, right? Well, it makes sense to do this, right? That would make logical sense. But when you actually tune into the energy of it, you can feel that it's probably not an energetic match for you and it doesn't make sense for you. But if you force yourself to do it because it makes sense, then you probably won't be stepping into working in the quantum, because you're kind of living in this programming of, well, I have to do things this way, instead of being able to tune into the energies of something to see if it's an energetic match for you and where you're going, for that future version of you that you're stepping into. So an example of this would be when I was ready to leave my job and do my business full time. I remember I was getting the hit for a long time that I needed to leave my job. And, I wasn't really at the point in my business that maybe I thought I should be in order to leave my job, or that would be smart or whatever, whatever the program is. Oh, you need to be making this amount of money, or this would be the smart thing to do. This would be the logical way to do it, right? I definitely wasn't at that point, but I was getting a very strong nudge, and the guides were very clear with me. I was receiving very potent, powerful information that was the time. And I remember I said to my husband, I was like, I know that I'm supposed to leave my job. And he's like, oh, well, it would make so much more sense for you to stay at your job for another year. You can do your business on the side, like blah, 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 telling me all of these reasons why it made sense. And like, it did make sense. Like what he was saying made logical sense from a linear perspective, from a very 3D timeline, linear perspective. It made total logical sense, right? But on an energetic level, it felt completely wrong to me because what I could feel energetically was that every time I engaged with my job, I was actually lowering my frequency. And then when I engaged with my old job, I was no longer an energetic match for who I wanted to be in my business. So therefore, I had to spend so much time and energy literally going from here, down here, to up here to be the person I needed to be in my business, but then also to have to engage in my job. So I literally, it wasn't an energetic match anymore. And I could feel that on an energetic level, but there's no explanation or rules for that in the 3D, right? And from the linear logical perspective, there's no rules for that. It doesn't really make sense, right? But I knew that I had to do it, and I did, and it was the right decision, obviously. But the reason why I share that is because it's a very clear example of how when we tune in and listen to the energy, we're able to tune into the energy of things, which is how we work in the quantum field, and listen to the energy and align with the energy. That's how things start to shift. And that is getting yourself completely out of that 3D only programming, right? And that's the multidimensional perspective, is when we start to tune in to the energy. We start to tune into the subtle levels of what's going on beyond this 3D reality that we're so focused in. So this is how it starts, right? Is we have to get our energy out of being solely focused in the 3D and start expanding our awareness into just noticing the other realms of reality that we're also living in. Because it's not like you have to all of a sudden start doing something. You're already doing it. It's just about becoming consciously aware of it and starting to consciously work with it. That's the difference. Okay, so let me know if this is making sense or if you have any questions. Oh, Lisa says, I understand what you mean. Oh, Valeria says, lowering your energy to keep doing what you're, yeah, it was, yes, it's a huge thing. Lisa says, I understand what you mean about when you are at work, you feel like you are starting to disconnect yet stay because it makes sense. But because your side hustle is in a place for, yeah, exactly. That's exactly how I felt. But I also knew, like, I could feel that being in that job was it was so, the energy I had to be in was so far from the energy I needed to be in my business. It just could no longer work energetically. And it's about really being able to tune into that energy and understand how to align your energy with what you're calling in, right? And that's what it is on a very simple level. And, in the quantum accelerator, I'm going to be going very, very deeply into how we align our energy, how we tune into our energy, and how we start to activate our energy to step into this multidimensional perspective and really start to live and play in the quantum, so that the 3D is a part of where we're focused, right? Obviously, we live on this planet that is very much like in the third dimension. We have to live in this way, but that's only a piece of it, right? Instead of our whole focus. Because when we try to do everything from this 3D perspective, things move like molasses. They're really slow and they're really not any fun either. Okay, so really starting to question the programming and question why you're doing things. Because are you doing this because because that's what you've seen, or because that's how other people do it? Or are you moving from your heart and your intuition, right? Are you moving from a place of energetic alignment? Are you moving from a place of should? Are you moving from a place of being in your head, of being all mental about it, right? But if you're moving from a place of feeling, heart, and intuition, that's how you can feel into and align with energy. The feeling you get in your body, accessing the feelings in your body and starting to move from that place, instead of it just being like, okay, well, I think I should do this. This makes sense. I think I should do that. That is just living in that 3D linear way, right? Okay. So the other thing that came through really strong that they wanted me to share, is being the rule creator, not the rule follower, right? So like literally questioning every single thing around, well, does it really have to be done this way, right? Like, do I really have to do this way? And really saying, or can I create my own way, right? Can I create my own path, my own way of doing things? Because that's what we're really here to do at this time on the planet. And all of you here have the unique coding to really move from that place of creating something entirely new. Like, we are here to create something entirely new. So anywhere where you are still following the rules or subscribing to any programming that it has to be done this way, this is what we need to look at and really start to dismantle. So that is a huge piece of this, is where are you being a rule follower and not a rule creator? Really, really, really starting to look at that. And I know for me, every time I move from a place of being a rule follower, whether it's even just doing what I think would work because I saw somebody else do it, or what I think would work because I did it before and it worked, anytime I move from that place, I don't get nearly as much potency and results from my action as when I do it when I'm coming from the place of creating my own rules, of really listening to the energy that resides within me and matching that with the energy I want to create and saying like, okay, how do I move? And I listen to what I'm feeling in my body, to what my guides are telling me, to the energy that I'm feeling, and I move from there. And that's how you become the rule creator and not the rule follower. So really starting to look at that and dissect that a little bit, and really starting to question like what I was talking about the other night in my Pleiadian activation, like the ways that our consciousness has been hijacked, right? There's so many ways that we have allowed our consciousness to be hijacked through programming from our ancestry, our family, the media, society. There's all these programs that are running, right? Of we have to do it this way. You have to look this way. You have to eat this way. All of these things that are not actually authentically yours. And part of the big work that we're doing right now is we are reclaiming those pieces of our consciousness that have been hijacked by that programming and beginning to do things our own way. So this is about you doing it your way, being the rule creator and not the rule follower. Okay. All right. So they really wanted me to talk about nothing being random and nothing coming out of nowhere. So this goes back to that part of you that trusts the energy, trusts the information, trusting that you are receiving these things for a reason and it's not random. This is really important. And then starting to work with the information you're receiving. Write it down, tell it to people, tell your clients, like whatever it is that you do, like really trust it and start to work with it. Because I have gotten some really crazy information that I'm like, I must be nuts and I must be making this up. But here it ends up really, really helping people. And also it ends up activating people in these really deep ways that if I would have just been like, okay, I'm gonna like pretend that I made this up, or I'm going to say that I made this up, then I wouldn't have been able to affect the kind of change that I've been able to affect within myself and within the people that I work with. So, really being able to trust this information and share it is huge. It's huge. And it's how you start to receive more and more and more and more information. Okay. So, really starting to play with energy, right, is what I talked about a little bit before. Starting to really work with your own energy and play with the energy, because that's how we work in the quantum. Like, it's also fun. So, it doesn't have to be like this big serious thing. It can also be this fun practice of really playing with and starting to work with energy and seeing what you can do. Okay, seeing what's possible, expanding your vision of what's possible. Okay. And then okay, so this is the other thing they want me to ask you. Sorry, my hair is driving me nuts. How can these realms, these other realms beyond the 3D, become just as real to you as the 3D? So this is the big question, and you might want to like write this down or remember this. How do these other realms of consciousness that are beyond our five senses become just as real to you as the 3D reality? And when that happens, that's when we're really coming from a multidimensional perspective. So this is really, really important. And it's not easy because of the programming, right? Like, even like, for example, when I received the galactic access codes, I was like, what the fuck is this? I was like, what does this mean? I have no idea what this is. And part of what the guides were telling me is it was like beyond the scope of my 3D understanding. So I really just had to feel it, right? And I really just had to allow the energy to move through me and share it with other people. And I did. And then, of course, it activates so many people, and it helped so many people, and it helped people really activate this this intergalactic knowledge portal, which was part of what the activation was. But some of it is beyond the scope of the 3D, right? So me really being able to trust and feel that and receive that without having to define it within the confines of the 3D reality, and just allowing it to be what it is. I mean, I still have trouble explaining what the galactic access codes are. I still have trouble explaining what the quantum accelerator is. I mean, I've explained it and I think I've done a good job, but part of me is like, this is something that just needs to be felt. This is something that just needs to be experienced, because a lot of this is beyond the scope of the 3D, and it's about really starting to work in the other realms and really starting to work in the quantum field and understand how to play with and work with energy, specifically your own energy. Okay. So let me know if you guys have any questions or if this is making sense. And I just want to take a few moments here to chat about the quantum accelerator. I'm super excited. The group is turning into something really special. I can feel it. So if you haven't heard me talk about it yet, it is my new container that is all about working in the quantum leaping, quantum manifestation. And it's really about stepping into quantum creation and visualizing the new earth, visualizing what we are bringing into being and how we create something new on this planet. So, it's really spiritually advanced tools. So I give you an entire toolkit, 10 modules, plus I give you my birth story breakthrough digital course, which is highly effective in releasing trauma. So you have an entire toolkit that's yours for life that you use to release trauma. You get breath work in there, and that you also use to continue to raise your consciousness, connect with your galactic guides, and really start to be able to tune in and receive information and work with your own energy. And then you get weekly calls with me where I do energetic frequency upgrades every week and energetic frequency attunements, where I'm literally just tuning into your energy And it's like an energetic tune up where I literally just tune into your energy and I attune your energy to the highest frequency every week. And what ends up happening is your multidimensional awareness comes online. You start to understand how to work with your own energy. You're much more tuned in to the subtleties of your own energy and how to work with your energy and work in the quantum field to create exactly what you want and really align with your soul's mission and the frequency you're supposed to be holding on this planet, and then anchoring that frequency in. So it's really about working in the quantum, but it's more than that. It's really about changing the way we engage with reality in general, and really starting to understand what you are actually capable of and the miracles and magic that you can actually create. So it's going to be 4 months, and early bird pricing ends tomorrow at midnight. Early bird pricing is $2,997. This I am not going to be doing it again at this price point, so I definitely recommend jumping on now if you feel drawn to this work and you feel drawn to really going to this deep level within yourself and your own growth and your own spirituality. Now is the time. And then after tomorrow, the price will be going up to $34.97, and enrollment closes on October 11th. So if you guys have questions about this and you want to know if it's a fit for you, or you have any questions about the program in general, just reach out to me, and we can chat about whether it's a fit for you. But I've been getting really excited with all of you who have been reaching out to me, because I can feel the women that are attracted to this container and who are going to be in this container are super powerful witches. I know that because all of you are who are watching this. Everyone who comes in to work with me is extremely, extremely powerful and an extremely amazing healer and witch. So I just can't wait to see the magic that we create in this container together, and to just hold the space for everyone to step into this new way of playing in the world, right? Like, we are letting go of the rules. Like, there are no more rules. There are no more, oh, you have to do it this way, you have to do it that way. This is how the world is. This is reality. Like, no. Like, we are dismantling all of that. We're reclaiming all parts of ourselves that have been hijacked by any kind of programming, and we're really stepping into the fullest versions of ourselves. And when we do that, there's a ripple effect on the entire human collective, and that's how things really start to change. So I'm so excited. And again, remembering this was an activation of your energy, so just be aware of that. Notice how you feel for the rest of the evening. Take it easy. And let me know if you have any questions about anything. Thank you guys so much. And I will talk to you soon. Bye.